The top stories tonight in Y News. The World Health Organization considers 17 potential COVID-19 vaccines to be included in the Solidarity Trial, in which almost 200 countries have joined. Meanwhile, leading researchers demand clarity from experts over how SARS-CoV-2 spread in the air.
Representatives from the World Health Organization impressed with the concept and design of the MCGI UNTV health facility in Malolos, Bulacan, saying the state-of-the-art facility raises the bar.
More than 1 billion pesos worth of near-expiry drugs have already been distributed, according to the Health Department. The DOH said the audit report on the 2.2 billion peso expired drugs was taken out of context. The Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board orders that all automatic fare collection systems for road transport, including BEEP, to be barred from collecting fees to use or purchase their cards.
U.S. President Donald Trump wants to participate in the second debate next week despite COVID-19, willing to get back onto the campaign trail.
A crucial $1.7 billion COVID-19 vaccine gamble underpins Australia's federal budget. The COVID-19 budget gamble also locks in a national debt forecast to last a century. In Thailand, the government plans to set aside 3 billion baht for first doses of COVID-19 vaccine. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, October 7, 2020. I am Jorlene Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news, experts project that a vaccine against COVID-19 will be available by next year. The World Health Organization's pilot trial is scheduled to begin this month of October. WHO also explains that it's not them, but it's the countries who volunteer to take part in the Solidarity Trial, depending on transmission levels of the virus. Our health correspondent, Aiko Miguel, details why.
The World Health Organization considers 17 potential vaccines against COVID-19 to be included in its Solidarity Trial. However, according to Dr. Socorro Escalante, coordinator of the Essential Medicines Health Technologies of the WHO Western Pacific region, there's still no information at which stage of assessment these potential vaccines are. The WHO pilot trial is set to begin end of October, while the results of the pilot trial may be released in January.
The criteria for selection of vaccines that will be included for clinical trial, the Global Steering Committee will look at the safety profile of the vaccine, the potential for efficacy, also looking at the vaccine stability and also the practicality of implementation, meaning whether the vaccines are manageable, the regimens are manageable, considering also the resource settings of countries, and of course another criteria will be the vaccine availability.
WHO Western Pacific region also explains that the timeline of when a COVID-19 vaccine will be available may vary. There are projections it may come mid-2021. Other experts estimate end of next year. This is based on the timeline of the COVAX facility.
Vaccines that would have to be proven to be safe, efficacious, and of good quality would be the main criteria for WHO and countries to recommend the deployment of vaccines. In terms of the allocation, particularly for small island countries, we need to be very realistic also that though our primary goal is to protect the small island countries. The limitations in terms of the volume of the vaccines that are going to be produced initially would not be very promising in terms of the volume. So we might have to go down again to the basic of our agreed allocation criteria.
There are currently 198 countries participating in the COVAX facility, which aims to distribute 2 billion doses of safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine, expected to be approved by end of next year. Here in the Philippines, there are 12 sites where the WHO Solidarity Trial will take place, with 81 patients participating. WHO explains it's not them who selected the Philippines.
Philippines was not selected by WHO. Countries have volunteered for the Solidarity Trial, and depending on the transmission levels where we can try out the vaccine. If you want to try out the effectiveness of a vaccine, you need to try it out where there is some level of transmission. And so the combination of these two facts, the expression of interest by the Philippines and the continuing levels of transmission, are both in favor of the possibility of actually trialing the Solidarity vaccine trials here in the Philippines.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The World Health Organization commends the MCGI UNTV Health Facility for mild and probable COVID-19 cases, which a WHO representative inspected today. Asher Kadapan Jr. details why.
World Health Organization Philippines Technical Support for Field Operation for COVID Response, Kenneth Samaco, inspected today the newly opened MCGI UNTV Health Facility in Malolos, Bulacan. WHO wants to ensure that the Temporary Treatment and Monitoring Facility, or TTMF, is safe and comfortable for COVID-19 patients who require isolation and quarantine.
My initial reaction while entering the building, I felt safe. I think yun yung isa sa titingnan natin sa mga TTMF natin is yung safety ng mga tao, safety in terms of you not acquiring the virus within the facility, and safety as well in terms of like nakikita yung needs po ng mga tao.
The WHO representative commends the facility, which uses modern technology such as the negative room pressure with air filtering system, which ensures a clean air for breathing. WHO emphasized the aim of the organization for proper and safe sewerage system, which MCGI UNTV Health Facility has implemented with a state-of-the-art water filtering technology that decontaminates and filters water from the facility for reuse in watering plants and cleaning, among others.
If I'm going to compare it with other TTMFs that I visited, this is basically mas tinataas yung bar of standards na ginagawa po natin.
Dr. Jocelyn Gomez, Vice President of the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, Bulacan, joined the team of experts. She said she was impressed with the MCGI UNTV Health Facility as the only temporary treatment and monitoring facility for COVID-19 patients in the province initiated by the private sector. It houses 32 isolation rooms, each with individual toilets, television set for entertainment and awareness of patient, intercom and CCTV for monitoring. Both the WHO representative and IATF official agree that the MCGI UNTV Health Facility is highly recommended for the treatment of probable and mild COVID-19 patients, as it integrates programs for physical, mental, and psychological wellness of the patients.
Nakita namin talaga yung mga programa, hindi lang yung treatment. Diba? Ang ating National Task Force we are guided by the strategic interventions. Ito yung prevent, detect, isolate, treat, and reintegrate. So, kasama itong reintegration dito sa programa ninyo na nakakatuwa.
I would like to give my commendation for a very job well done. I mean, you went beyond what is required and you provided what the community really needs.
To be admitted in the facility, a patient must be pre-registered with a local government unit, meaning the patient's details have been given to the facility before isolation. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the country's Department of Health says that 2,825 new cases were reported today, raising the total confirmed cases of coronavirus infection in the Philippines to 329,637. And yet again, the National Capital Region logs more than 1,000 additional cases today. Both Cavite and Batangas provinces, meanwhile, input more than 200 new COVID-19 positives. The total active cases in the country increased from yesterday to almost 50,000, of which 85.9% are in mild condition, while 9.4% are asymptomatic. We have lost 60 more patients, but through our fervent prayers, medical interventions, and sacrifices of our medical frontliners, 437 more people have won their battle against the invisible enemy. That brings the total recoveries nationwide to 273,723. Thanks be to God.
Meanwhile, leading researchers demand clarity from experts over how SARS-CoV-2 spreads in the air. Jovic Bermas explains why.
An open letter published in the journal Science, authored by leading researchers across the United States, urges the scientific community to define clearly the terminology used in COVID-19's mode of transmission. Experts from the University of California, San Diego, University of Maryland, Virginia Tech, and others demand public health officials to make a clear distinction between droplets ejected by coughing or sneezing and aerosols that can carry the virus for much greater distances. The researchers highlight that the chance of getting infected with SARS-CoV-2 via airborne transmission is greater than the droplet route, as viruses in aerosols can remain suspended in air for many seconds to hours. Viruses in aerosols, according to the letter, can travel more than 2 meters and accumulate in poorly ventilated indoor air, and people can become infected via inhalation. Kimberly Prather, lead author and a distinguished professor at UC San Diego, said the balance of attention must be shifted to protecting against airborne transmission. Professor Prather highlights that public health officials must offer clear and forceful guidance about this pathway so efforts can focus on cleaning air, using ventilation and filtration, and providing guidance on how to avoid risky indoor settings. The team also suggests to move activities outdoors as much as possible and to improve protection for high-risk workers. Co-author Lindsay Marr, an expert on airborne transmission of viruses and a professor of civil and environmental engineering at Virginia Tech, emphasizes that people should wear masks not only when we can't maintain social distance, but at all times in public buildings and confined spaces. According to the World Health Organization's scientific brief updated on July 9, 2020, the possible modes of transmission for SARS-CoV-2 include contact, droplet, airborne, fomite, fecal-oral, blood-borne, mother-to-child, and animal-to-human transmission. On the other hand, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on October 5th issued updated guidance to its How COVID-19 Spreads website, which includes information about the potential for airborne spread of the virus that causes COVID-19. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Let's now take a closer look at the updated count of coronavirus cases around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has now reached a total of over 35.8 million confirmed cases in 188 countries, regions, and sovereignty. That's after more than 235,000 new cases were reported across various countries in the last 24 hours. Almost half of the total global cases come from the region of the Americas, while the total confirmed cases in Southeast Asia have exceeded those in Europe. The fast-spreading disease has claimed more than 1.05 million lives across the world as of today. while close to 25 million patients across the globe have recovered from the new coronavirus infection. Thanks be to God.
The DOH says the Commission on Audit's report on expired medicines has been taken out of context. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The Department of Health stand firm they have already distributed the medicines included in the Commission on Audit's report on 2.2 billion pesos worth of expired, near expiry and overstock medicine and dental supplies in the DOH Central Office warehouse. According to Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, the report came from the Health Department's 2019 report and not for this year. The DOH insists more than 1 billion pesos worth of these medicines have been distributed.
Ito pong report ng Commission on Audit, ito pong kanilang KR ang tawag dyan. This only covers the period of January to December of 2019. So ito po yung mga procurement, mga nasa warehouse noong 2019 and this is part of their work. Sa kasalukuyan po, nakapag-distribute na po tayo ng lahat ng near expiring medicines amounting to more than 1 billion pesos. Kasama po yan dun sa report nila, nailabas nila na meron po tayong mga near expiring medications na hindi pa na-distribute.
The other commodities mentioned in the COA report like dental kits have also been distributed and only 840 kits are left in the DOH warehouse according to the DOH spokesperson.
Meron ho silang binanggit dito na tinitignan ko lang para klaro tayo na 1.1 billion overstock or slow-moving commodity. So base po sa aming datos, ito po ay na-distribute na from January to August. Also, ang natitira po ditong commodities is 322 million na lang po and ongoing pa rin po ang distribution namin. Kasama po yan dun sa aming schedules until the end of the year. Yung sinasabi na nag-expire, meron ho tayong sinasabi na expired commodities na meron din worth na nilagay dyan sa article na yan. Ito po yung mga dental kits na tinatawag. And these dental kits were procured and we were already able to distribute 98.6% of these dental kits.
COA attributed the expiration, overstocking, and near expiration of medicines and various medical and dental supplies to the poor procurement planning, inefficient and uncoordinated transfer or distribution, and lack of monitoring and proper storage. The DOH admits there had been challenges when it comes to the stocking and distribution of supplies and medicines, some of which procured in 2016. This is the reason why the DOH has created a supply chain management office to monitor this kind of problem which COA scrutinizes yearly. The DOH also says the audit report of COA on the 2.2 billion peso expired drugs was taken out of context. For the medicines and overstocked medicine, dental supplies and commodities have been distributed already.
Isa po kami ng Commission on Audit para magkaroon ng efficiency ng resources ng gobyerno. So lahat po yan, we were able to distribute already from January to August of 2020. Ongoing pa rin po yung distribution ng ibang mga natitirang commodities sa aming warehouse.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Senate President Vicente Soto III said he is disappointed with the tight schedule for the deliberations for next year's national budget. This was after the House suspended its session yesterday amid the speakership row without passing on third and final reading the General Appropriations Bill, which contains the proposed 4.5 trillion peso 2021 national budget. According to Soto, they are staring at the possibility of a reenacted budget for the first month of 2021. The Senate President said House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano vowed to transmit the copy of the bill on November 17. However, it would take a week for the printing of copies, and senators would need to study first the contents before they can take it up to the plenary for the debates. Soto underscored the need to scrutinize the bill for weeks, adding that they cannot be blamed for the possible delay in the passage of the budget.
Hindi kami pwedeng madaliin kasi pag minadali kami, siguradong marami kami mga blind spot na makikita na mangyayari. Ayaw natin yun. Barya-barya na nga lang ang nakakarating sa mga kababayan natin. Hindi ba? Pagkatapos hindi pa namin babantayan.
With a reenacted budget, the Senate leader explained this would affect the implementation of key services and job opportunities, especially for Filipinos who lost their jobs due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, for Senator Panfilo Lacson, it is impossible to pass the national budget before the year ends. Lacson explained that it would take weeks before they can tackle the bill for plenary debates, and it would also take 3 to 4 weeks for the interpellations and period of amendments. According to Lacson, there is a chance for its timely passage if the House can transmit to them the final version on October 14 or 2 days before the mandated break on October 17. He adds the executive department usually reviews the enrolled bill for 2 to 3 weeks before the president signs the measure.
Ang malipit dito yung mamamayang Pilipino, hindi yung Senate. Kami gagawin namin yung trabaho namin pag-scrutinize. Very, very important based on experience. Kasi nga maraming na-insert na hindi ka nais-nais.
Senator Sonny Angara, who also chairs the Committee on Finance, said Cayetano also vowed to speed up some of the processes, including the sending of advanced copies of the bill and even shortening the bicameral conference committee. However, according to Senator Soto, the only way that the BICAM could be shortened is when the House agrees to adopt the Senate's version of the bill. Angara also expressed concern that should the government operate under a reenacted budget next year, it would affect the funding of new projects, which is essential for economic recovery amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yun yung parang nagkakaroon ng spur sa economy. Yung nagsuspur, yun yung nagkakaroon ng trabaho, di ba? Pag may proyekto, makaka-hire ng trabahador sa probinsya, for instance. Pag may bagong pondo, for instance, yung DOLE sa tupad or sa yung AKAP nila. So mabibigyan ng pondo yung mga bumabalik na OFWs, yung mga nawala ng trabaho.
Angara and Soto say the Senate is open should the palace calls for a special session for the passage of the budget, but Lacson believes this is no longer necessary as sessions will be just suspended and not adjourned. Both chambers of Congress will adjourn on December 19, 2020. The current budget or the 2020 General Appropriations Act will expire on December 31, 2020. A lawmaker in the lower chamber of Congress wants to reopen the deliberation period for the proposed 2021 national budget, which was stopped yesterday. Vincent Arboleda will join us tonight to tell us why live. Yes, Vincent.
Erling, there are still many questions the Makabayan bloc in the House of Representatives wants answers to regarding the 4.5 trillion peso 2021 proposed national budget. The Makabayan bloc lawmakers believe that these must be clarified to the public, but they were stopped as the period of budget deliberation was suddenly stopped and the General Appropriation Bill was passed on second reading yesterday. That is why Bayan Muna Representative Ferdinand Gaite wants to reopen the deliberation period to shed light on the issues. The Makabayan bloc condemns the railroading of House Bill 7727 or the General Appropriations Bill that happened yesterday. Meanwhile, according to ACT Teachers Representative Franz Castro, they saw many flaws in the budget that need amendments and must be made known to the public. There are also many things that some agencies need, like DepEd and CHED, whose budgets are not sufficient for a safe back-to-school program. The budgets for DSWD and DOLE are also lacking. Castro notes that these agencies primarily provide assistance to Filipinos affected by the coronavirus pandemic. But according to Deputy Speaker Elre Villafuerte, one of the members of the small committee that handles the individual and committee amendments, they should just submit their amendments to the committee.
I suggest isubmit na lang nila. So, do they want results by submitting this in writing in a documented form? Or do they just want the media mileage? With all due respect, we want results. So if they want results and they want their concerns to be heard, I think it's better to be put in writing at this point and submitted to the small committee, di ba?
The committee will accept amendments from lawmakers until November 5. Meanwhile, Buhay Party List Representative Lito Atienza says they were muted during the session and were not able to object to the motions of passing the budget and suspending the session of the House of Representatives. Atienza posted a photo on his Facebook page showing as proof of his claim that they were not able to unmute themselves. But Deputy Speaker Naphtali Gonzales II explains this is normal as there are rules in place to prevent chaos and unnecessary noise from ruining the meetings.
Merong inilagay na contact person doon at number para yun ang tatawagan mo. Pero hindi pwede sa Zoom conference na magsisigaw ka dyan dahil hindi ka talaga ma-unmute.
Harleen Gonzales cited the Makabayan bloc as proof that lawmakers were allowed to propose questions and manifestations or deliberations on the budget, whether they are opposition or not, as long as they follow the rules. Harleen?
Vincent, some lawmakers are claiming that suspending the session until November 16 is against the Constitution because for the House to adjourn for more than 3 days, they would need consent from the Senate of the Philippines. Did the lawmakers explain this?
According to Deputy Speaker Naphtali Gonzales II, technically what they did was just to suspend the session. Under the rules, all proceedings that are suspended will still be considered to be a single session day. So since the start of the budget deliberation on the House of Representatives until its resumption on November 16, it will still be considered a single session day. Harleen?
Vincent, now what will happen to the term sharing agreement between Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano and Congressman Alan J. Velasco?
Well, there will be no turnover on October 14 as the lower house is still on break until November 16. For Congressman Gonzales, the fact that remains that Speaker Cayetano's resignation last September 30 being rejected by 184 lawmakers means that Speaker Cayetano was given a fresh mandate by the majority. Cayetano's camp also dares Velasco's side to show their numbers and unseat Cayetano if they can. Harleen?
All right, thank you so much. Vincent Arboleda reporting live.
Malacanang says the termination of the deliberation on the proposed 2021 national budget in the House of Representatives, as well as suspension of session by Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano, is a very critical astute political move. Meanwhile, the palace believes the House session suspension will not delay the passage of the 2021 national budget. Our Malacanang correspondent, Rosalie Cos, will tell us why.
The proposed 4.5 trillion peso national budget was approved yesterday on second reading, and the House session was suspended until November 16. According to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, this is not illegal and he thinks it is a very astute political move by Cayetano to avoid a possible House intramurals on October 14. October 14 is supposed to be the change in leadership, according to the term-sharing agreement between Cayetano and Marinduque Representative Lord Alan Velasco. Meanwhile, the palace official believes the suspension of session in the House of Representatives will not delay the passage of 2021 national budget. He says the Senate may still proceed with its budget deliberations because there's no requirement for them to wait for the third and final approval of the bill by the House. The palace has reiterated the appeal of President Duterte to pass the budget on time because the country cannot have a reenacted budget in 2021 as the country has been struggling with the crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Rosalie Cos, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, releases a memorandum circular ordering all automated fare collection system providers to give free cards among buses, modern jeepneys, taxis, and other modes of land transport. So Anano tells us why.
Under Memorandum Circular number 2020-057, the LTFRB is directing all automated fare collection system providers in the country to remove all charges included in a car used for public transport, excluding the payment for load or credit. The agency warns it will penalize or suspend the operation of providers who will fail to do so. AF Payments Incorporated, the company managing beep cards used on MRT, LRT, and EDSA busway, have yet to release a statement on the matter. In Monumento, Caloocan, AF Payments Incorporated has already suspended the sale of beep cards. It has also limited the operation of card loading. For the group Bagong Alyansang Makabayan or Bayan, AF Payments should refund the cost of the beep card or credit the amount to be consumed as fare of public commuters who had purchased beep cards to be used on the EDSA busway.
Kailangan merong benepisyo dito lahat, no? Kasama yung mga nakapagbayad na. Kasi unfair din naman dito sa mga nakapagbayad na hindi na nila mababawi, no? Yung kanilang iniambag dyan sa cost ng beep card.
Although some commuters with beep cards find the action unfair, they are still grateful now the POV cards can be availed for free.
Mas maganda po kasi minsan hindi mo maiwasan na mawala po ang card. Medyo unfair po, kaya lang po wala naman po kaming magagawa.
Okay na po, meron na eh. Eh yung mga hindi na po afford na bumili, okay na po sa nila yun.
Okay lang naman na kasi nakabili na kami. Wala na magagawa.
The LTFRB's order will become effective from October 9th, Friday. The suspension of the no beep card, no ride policy remains in effect. Joanna, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Now, here's a glimpse of what's the weather like in parts of the country. A low-pressure area or LPA and the southwest monsoon are affecting parts of the country. State Weather Bureau Pagasa says as of 3 p.m. today, the LPA was located 90 kilometers east of Daet Camarines Norte. The LPA and the southwest monsoon will bring cloudy skies with scattered rain showers and thunderstorms over Metro Manila, Ilocos Region, Cordillera Administrative Region, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Bicol Region, Visayas, Mindanao, Cagayan, Isabela, Nueva Vizcaya, and Quirino. Meanwhile, Batanes and the Babuyan Group of islands will experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated light rains due to the northeasterly surface wind flow. Possible flash floods or landslides may occur during severe thunderstorms. No tropical cyclone advisory is issued.
The 5 Directorates for Integrated Police Operations of the Philippine National Police will now focus on anti-insurgency, internal security, and search and rescue operations in their area of responsibility. With such a move, the local police will now focus on anti-criminality campaign and anti-illegal drugs. Our police correspondent, Leah Ilagat, will tell us why.
The PNP leadership confirms that the offices of 5 DIPO or Directorate for Integrated Police Operation will be out of Camp Crame and will go to their areas of jurisdiction. PNP Chief Police General Camilo Cascolan says they will stay in the PNP headquarters in the areas of their assignment together with the personnel from the Public Safety Battalion and Regional Mobile Force Battalion.
They are slowly going out of their offices and going to their respective areas of responsibility so that they would be able to improve their coordination and cooperation with the AFP with regard to counterinsurgency, and at the same time personally supervise the establishment of their camps. For the meantime, they will be staying in regions.
This is a welcome development for some of the DIPO directors. DIPO Eastern Mindanao Director, Police Brigadier General Arnel Escobar told UNTV that they can now focus on anti-insurgency, internal security operations, and search and rescue operations in their areas of responsibility. This is part of the PNP's effort to end insurgency before the term of President Rodrigo Duterte ends. According to Police Brigadier General Manuel Abu, Director of DIPO Visayas, he will place his office in a place considered a center of gravity. The transfer of DIPO offices is part of the decongestion program in the PNP National Headquarters. Aside from DIPO, other offices such as the Maritime Group, Logistics Support Service, Special Action Force, EOD K9, Highway Patrol Group, and Police Security and Protection Group or PSPG will also be transferred outside Metro Manila. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand.
Here in Thailand, the National Vaccine Committee requests to set aside 2.93 billion baht to purchase enough supply of COVID-19 vaccine from overseas. The aim is to vaccinate 33 million people, roughly half of Thailand's population. Each dose of the vaccine costs 700 baht, or about 1,080 pesos. Each person would need 2 doses of the vaccine for it to be effective. Health Ministry spokeswoman Panprapa Yongtrako says officials are currently looking at purchasing from countries who have finished phase 3 trials like the US, the UK, China, and Russia. Dr. Nakon Prems, the director of the National Vaccine Institute, says that once the cabinet approves the proposed budget, they are expecting the vaccine to be ready next year and healthcare workers will be first in line. In the USA, it is possible there is no stopping President Donald Trump from participating in the second presidential debate. One of our correspondents in the USA, Justin Masakayan, will tell us why.
President Donald Trump is eager to get back out onto the campaign trail. His camp said the American chief executive wants to participate in next week's debate despite uncertainty in his health condition. He is still recovering from COVID-19 after testing positive for the virus last Friday. It is still unclear if the president will be allowed by his doctors to travel and if he will be well enough to attend the debate. The big question is, would he still be infectious and expose other attendees to the deadly virus? In his tweet, he is looking forward to the debate on October 15 in Miami, Florida, but it is not clear if he will do it virtually. The Commission on Presidential Debate could postpone the October 15 event and push back the schedule or cancel the second event. The third debate is scheduled on October 22nd. Justin Masakayan, UNTV News and Rescue, USA. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Australia's net migration is set to fall to a negative trend for the first time since 1939, while Australia's 2020 federal budget revealed that recovery to pre-pandemic levels will not return until 2024. Here's Nina Bascon reporting from Melbourne, Victoria to tell us why live. Nina?
Australia is set to suffer a 72,000 loss of people from net overseas migration since World War II, based on the country's budget revelation last night by Treasurer Josh Finberg. Said downturn will result in population growth of as little as 0.2% in the current financial year, which is the lowest in a century. Net overseas migration numbers evaluate the number of people that enter Australia and remain in the country for more than 1 year compared to the number of people that actually leave the country for the same period. The budget announced last night, the country aims to gain 201,000 people from net overseas migration by 2024, while the country's short-term population outlook is only expected to reach 26 million until June 30, 2021, a shortfall of 1 million from last year's forecast. England, China, India, New Zealand, and the Philippines are the top 5 countries that constitute more than 40% of Australia's overseas-born residents. Treasurer Frydenberg also emphasized that one of the underlying assumptions used in coming up with the federal budget was Australia's domestic borders to reopen by end of the year, except for Western Australia, which is assumed to lift its border restriction in April 2021. While international arrivals assumed to remain very low and is expected to gradually pick up again towards the end of 2021 and is foreseen to slowly recover in 2022. Kath?
Nina, is the Australian government introducing any changes to its visa policies or its migration priorities at this point, considering the significant decline in the net overseas migration?
Yes, Kath, the federal budget also revealed changes to Australia's temporary visas, placing priority to employee-sponsored, global talent, business innovation, and investment program visas in order to invite talented migrants in the country. Australia will also triple the allocation to 15,000 places for the Global Talent Program, which covers work in the following sectors: agriculture technology, space and advanced manufacturing, finance technology, energy and mining, medical technology, cybersecurity, as well as quantum information, together with advanced digital, data science, and ICT. The Australian government estimates that 2/3 of new entrants will be on skilled visa, but remains firm with a 160,000 migration cap per year. Kath?
Thank you, Nina Bascon, reporting live from Melbourne, Victoria State in Australia. The Australian federal budget unveiled on Tuesday based several COVID-19 assumptions on Aussies having access to a vaccine in 2021 in hopes of driving the economy to recover from its downturn. Joining us tonight is one of our correspondents in Australia, Marvy Delfin, to tell us why live. Marvy?
Yes, just as everyone in Australia has felt the impacts of the coronavirus pandemic, everyone in Australia will be affected by the federal government's coronavirus budget. A crucial $1.7 billion COVID-19 vaccine gamble underpins Australia's federal budget, as it locks in a record deficit this year and a national debt forecast to last a century. Let us hear from Treasurer Josh Frydenberg's budget speech last night.
Our economic response has come at a significant cost. COVID-19 will see our deficit reach $213.7 billion this year, falling to $66.9 billion by 2023-24. Net debt will increase to $703 billion. This is a heavy burden, but a necessary one to responsibly deal with the greatest challenge of our time.
The government's spending spree, mostly geared towards supporting households and businesses, will see Australia's national debt reach $1.7 trillion in the next 10 years. Treasurer Frydenberg said today much of the historic high budget spending was dependent on a coronavirus vaccine being available. But Prime Minister Scott Morrison said today that vaccine or no vaccine, budget measures were already there for job hiring and early tax cuts, with businesses more able to invest and employ more Aussies. A population-wide Australian COVID-19 vaccination program is assumed to be fully in place by late 2021, with social distancing restrictions continuing until a vaccine is fully available. According to infectious disease experts, this goal is far from guaranteed, as they warned that the first approved vaccine may have limited efficacy. Economic researchers back to this, saying that the budget is wildly optimistic, and even if Australia does get a successful vaccine, it does not necessarily mark the immediate end of COVID-19. What's more, they do not think that Australia will be debt-free until the early 2080s. Kath?
Marvy, we are aware of the global race to find a COVID-19 cure. How likely is it that a coronavirus vaccine will be ready next year to coincide with Australia's budget forecasts?
Kath, according to researchers on the front line of vaccine development, this timeline is possible. A survey published by McGill University early this month asked 28 US and Canadian experts about when they thought a COVID-19 vaccine would be available. They were not optimistic a vaccine would be rolled out before mid-2021, but on average, they thought that September or October 2021 was achievable. However, several thought it could take until July 2022. Kath?
All right, Marvy, thank you for that report live from Australia. And those are the reasons behind the news here in Thailand and in other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Kath Dumaraos, reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand.
And those are the reasons behind the news, October 7, 2020. I am Horlin Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Angelo Castro III.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.